Following the Trump administration's assassination of Iran's top military commander, Iran has responded, luckily not militarily yet, but they have responded with a number of threats. So I wanted to share those threats with you. First, NPR is reporting that both of the leading figures in Iran's government, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and President Hassan Rouhani, have vowed to take revenge for the killing or harsh retaliation, in the words of Khamenei. So let's read a statement from Hassan Rouhani, who is the Iranian president. He says the flag of General Soleimani in defense of the country's territorial integrity and the fight against terrorism and extremism in the region will be raised, and the path of resistance to US excesses will continue. The great nation of Iran will take revenge for this heinous crime. Now look, I don't agree with pretty much anything in that statement, but understand that if you're gonna come after the top military general, of course they're going to threaten you with retaliation.
They actually sound a lot like Trump.
They do, yeah, exactly. I mean, they cite terrorism, they cite extremism, which is exactly what our government does. Now, Soleimani was a popular figure inside Iran, and even many Iranians who are against the government are likely to be outraged about the targeting of a high-ranking official of their country. No Iranian leader will be able to spare the political capital to engage the United States, at least for the foreseeable future. And that was a statement by a woman who's actually an expert on foreign policy and specifically foreign relations with Iran. I give you that comment because this isn't just about what the Trump administration is doing to destroy relations with Iran or actually lead to escalated tensions with Iran. Even if, let's say, knock on wood, I hope this happens, Donald Trump gets elected out of office and you get a wonderful leader like Bernie Sanders, for instance, it's gonna be much harder to approach the situation diplomatically, right? So that's a huge problem.
Because they also have internal politics.
Yes.
So even if you just name any other person, doesn't matter. Let's say take Elizabeth Warren, if she wins, and then the Iranian leaders go, no, she's more progressive, maybe we can go back to diplomacy. But the people go, no, we want blood. They killed our top hero. And so we don't trust the Americans. So what are you, nuts? Look at what they did in Iraq. Look at what they did to us. Why would you trust the Americans? It creates political pressure on the Iranian government to never work with us.
And finally, I want to read a statement from Javad Zarif, who is the foreign minister of Iran. He called the killing of General Soleimani an act of international terrorism and warned it was extremely dangerous and a foolish escalation. He continued to say the US bears responsibility for all consequences of its rogue adventurism. Now, the people of Iran, based on what we've seen online, are not pleased with what happened with this assassination, but it doesn't matter to the Trump administration because they're going to be able to go on the media or in the media, and they're going to completely change the narrative of how people are reacting to this, right? And so here's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arguing that this was an act of liberation.
Yeah. I saw last night there was dancing in the streets in parts of Iraq. We have every expectation that people not only in Iraq, but in Iran will view the American action last night as giving them freedom to have the opportunity for success and prosperity for their nations. And while the political leadership may not want that, the people in these nations will demand it.
We'll see. So far this morning on the streets of Tehran, we've been seeing pictures, and we have a reporter there. We've been seeing pictures of large-scale anti-American demonstrations following the death. This is in Iran, following the death. We've heard from Iraqi leaders so far condemning the US action. We heard from a French official this morning putting out a statement saying that the world is less safe following the killing of General Soleimani. And the concern there, no one is saying that General Soleimani was a good actor, he was a bad actor. What they're suggesting is that destabilization will create a threatening environment. So when you hear from France, the world is a less safe place this morning, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, well, the French are just wrong about that.
Oh, wow, great, real persuasive.
He went on to say that the world is safer. I'll get back to that in a second. But do you want to know why Soleimani was so popular in Iran and why you see those massive demonstrations in Iran? He was known for a number of different things, and it's complicated and nuanced. But lately, the thing that he was most popular for was because he fought ISIS. And he helped destroy ISIS. In fact, when they say he's brutal, there is a lot of truth to that. And there's internal Iranian documents that were leaked. And in the documents, even some of their leaders say, man, Soleimani was brutal to ISIS. And so what he did to ISIS was unspeakable. Now, remember, we also fought ISIS. So that's why these situations are complicated. We have real disagreements with Iran on certain issues. On the other hand, we are aligned on fighting against ISIS. So we just killed one of the top fighters against ISIS. Now, do you hear that all over television? Nope, okay, but that is a fact. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only thing Soleimani did. He was a bad guy in other respects. And so, but that is one of the reasons he was so popular, not just in Iran, but also in Iraq. But I don't want to bury the lead. You saw what he just said. They're gonna be happy because we just gave them freedom. I mean, it's like a parody. If The Onion wrote it, you'd be like, hey, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
The Bush administration famously said that we would be greeted as liberators in Iraq. Were we greeted as liberators? Did it turn out that way? So when Pompeo says that, I mean, it is so over the top. Berman could barely contain himself saying, we'll see, right? But obviously, we did not just give Iraq or Iran freedom, and they're not excited about it, and they're not dancing in the streets. There soon will be bombing in the streets.
And the issue is that none of the people, like a couple of Republicans will say that, but they don't care. They're not interested in any Iranian civilians. They can show you on CNN that footage of those massive protests or the funeral march, which were massive. And considering the world we live in, later today, Trump is gonna put up a tweet saying that they're dancing in the streets, and it's gonna be footage from like, outside of an NBA championship, and it's gonna get 100,000 retweets, and no one's gonna believe anything again. That's the world we live in. Just briefly, I want to mention that obviously the biggest concern is full-scale war between our countries. There's also the concern of cyber terrorism or traditional terrorism inside of the region, or against Israel, or against the US, or in Europe. That's certainly possible too. But the other way that this could go is they could shut down the Straits of Hormuz, or they could do something to interfere with the flow of oil, or they could sink a couple of ships there and destabilize things that way. They could trigger, if they wanted to, not World War III, but an economic depression effectively that could affect the entire planet.
So that brings me to a couple other points. So he said his very next response, and I'll give you the quote. Pompeo said, no, we're safer. He said, the world's, quote, this is a quote, the world's a much safer place today. And I can assure you that Americans in the region are much safer today. Okay, really? Because the State Department, his own State Department, he's the Secretary of State, put out a press release today on Twitter saying, we urge US citizens to depart Iraq immediately. Well, if they're so safe, why do they have to run for their lives?
Exactly.
So they know that they're not safe. And so to your point about the intelligence, part of the reason we've been saying throughout today's coverage that we don't believe them when they say that Soleimani was in the midst of doing an imminent attack where hundreds of Americans were going to be killed. When asked for evidence later, the government put out a number of possibilities of what they could have done, including perhaps a financial attack in Lebanon. Wait, I thought you said hundreds of Americans were going to die imminently. Now we're talking about maybe a financial attack in Lebanon? Oh, they're such gargantuan liars. They're such, I mean, he almost did it with a smile on his face. We're giving them freedom. Okay, the fact that they're liars is the most clear thing that there is on planet Earth. So now finally, to the possible dangers. Guys, why are we freaking out today? Iran has not counterattacked yet. If things just stop now, we shouldn't have done that. It was illegal, it's provocative, it's a bad precedent, but we'll live, it's fine, right? And Soleimani was a bad guy in many respects, right? We're not worried about that. We're worried about what's coming next.
Yes.
So, okay, what could come next? You think Iran doesn't have capabilities because we're so arrogant, we're filled with hubris, especially the Trump administration. They have drones, they have boats, they have bombs. Their army is far more capable than Iraq's army was, but they have militias all over the Middle East. In fact, that's why we said we killed Soleimani, because he directed those militias all over the Middle East. Well, guess what they're gonna do? Hezbollah has 13,000 rockets. Now, we get into a real conflict. You think they're not gonna fire them on Israel?
Yeah, can I jump in on that? Because look, there are world leaders throughout the world who have condemned the Trump administration's actions. There are very few who are supportive, and one of those individuals happens to be Benjamin Netanyahu. And it's amazing because in his statement, Netanyahu claims, well, Israel has the right to defend itself. I applaud Trump for the actions that he took in defending the United States and defending Israel. But at the same time, the Israeli government is making preparations to defend itself from aggression by Iranian-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? So you're not safer. I mean, that is an admission. The military action in Israel to defend Israel in response to what Trump did is proof that Israel is not safer.
No, but there is one person who's slightly safer today, and that's Benjamin Netanyahu. His political chances just went up. If Israelis might get killed, he doesn't care. Americans got killed when we did the Iraq war. Cheney didn't care. Now when the Iranians attack and Israelis and Americans die, Trump's not gonna care. What do they care about? My re-election. Oh my God, Trump is obsessed with his re-election. He says Obama might have attacked Iran. He said that back in 2011, 2013, over and over again, right? 2013, even after the election, 2012, before the election. And he says, oh, I know what Obama would do. He tried to start a war with Iran to get reelected. Now, Obama didn't do that, but look at what Trump just did, right? And Netanyahu, he's like, oh, Israelis might get killed. But you know what? I'm in the middle of a power struggle right now. And if we have a war, the right wing always rises in popularity. These are the most craven, despicable people on earth. They don't actually care about our citizens. All right, and last thing, guys, they have the capability of sinking our ships. Again, we think in our infinite arrogance that they can't. What if they sink an aircraft carrier? What are we gonna do then? There's thousands of people on aircraft carriers. And then America's gonna see red. And we're gonna wanna bomb the living crap out of Iran. And then we're in the middle of the war and no one can stop it. If they sink an aircraft carrier, we're neck deep in a war and no force on earth can stop it. And then we have a war 4 times the size of Iraq. This is why Trump should have never won the presidency. He's too stupid, does not understand the consequences of his actions. All he cares about is himself. Oh, I gotta get reelected. I gotta distract people from impeachment. And he's driven by his ego. Oh, I'll show the Iranians how strong I am. And he doesn't think through what's gonna happen next. They sink a ship and we're all sunk. So, and it is very, very possible. God help us. Let's hope that it doesn't get to that, but that's exactly what we're worried about. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.